It says the keys to healthy mentoring on one side and the 7 C's on the other side. So if you want to take that out, let's see if I can read this from there. Something that is very, very important to me is mentoring. I love mentoring. I love all my young women, many of whom are here today. I don't claim to be an expert on it by any stretch. Many of the items I'm going to share, I actually need to grow in, and I'll jokingly talk about several of those today. But most of the material that I'll be referencing today on both of these subjects is from Dr. John Townsend. His newest book is called People Fuel, and I highly recommend it. So here are my keys to healthy mentoring. Number one, as an older person to a younger person, there's nothing that you can really do more that makes them happy more than just showing interest in their life. If I'm talking to the older crowd, sometimes we get together with younger people and we make mistakes like talking about our aches and pains, or we're talking about things that we're going through that they can't relate to at all, or things like that. So I would say find out what their interests are, find out what their life pressures are, find out what they're going through in their college life or in their regular life. It doesn't mean you can't share about yourself, but the whole point is to find out how they're doing and try to increase your awareness of social media and understanding the pressure that's on them right now, that we can't maybe relate to. So try and get into their mindset of what they're going through and try and set yourself aside. Number 2, respect choices. Eric and I were talking about this last night, and I've gone through this with several of my young women where they've made big life choices and maybe I haven't agreed with it. And that's okay. We've had talks about it and we've worked out our stuff. Haley bought a house. I wanted her to stay renting. I mean, it's okay. That's because they're adults and these are their choices. So it's very important that you respect their choices as adults, more than anything. Not to treat them as an adult child, but to treat them as an adult. There's a big difference there. Number 3, this is very hard for me. Try not to give advice unless it's asked for. Again, we've had, 25 plus years experience on younger people, so sometimes we just want to give and share and all this kind of stuff, and your heart is probably just wonderful, but they may not want that information. So you might ask, may I share something? May I give you a suggestion? But really try and listen and help them to come to their own choices. And also, don't take their choices personally. That's something hard as well. If someone comes to you for advice and then they don't follow it, that's okay. They're an adult. They're going to learn from all of their choices and what they do. Number 4, encourage other sources of support besides yourself. Make sure that you're not just their go-to person. Make sure you're encouraging them. Gosh, this couple is really great with finances, and this couple is really good as a realtor, or these type of things where you can really increase their base because you may have been around a long time and you know a lot of people. So hook them in with other people and other resources so they have great connections there. Encourage autonomy and self-sufficiency. It's very important. Number 5, be trustworthy. Keep things confidential. Don't talk about their information, even getting advice, without them being okay with it. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I really messed up, I went out last night and I smoked pot, the best response to that is, I'm sorry that happened. What would you like to do about it? It isn't, oh my gosh, I gotta sound the alarms and go talk to the whole world, and oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, I gotta get advice. Sit down with them and make a plan. These are adults. They can make these choices and come to their own convictions of right or wrong and those type of things. But be trustworthy with their stuff. Hold it with you and them and keep it that way. Number 6, make space for struggle. Nobody likes to see, as a parent figure, you don't like to see your kids struggle. It's like the worst. Right. It's like it almost eats you up sometimes, that you're like, I just want them to do great and be happy and all those kind of things. But in the struggle, there is so much that empowers them, as they go through it. You talk about the chrysalis and the butterfly and all that kind of stuff, and if you cut open the chrysalis while the butterfly's in it and you don't let them struggle to get out, they will not be able to fly. Their wings, they won't have the strength and the blood that pumps through those wings to let that happen. So you got to make space for struggle. Don't view people as fragile. Believe in them, express where you know that they shine, tell them about their strengths and capabilities, let them fail, learn lessons, and find support. Your job is to be alongside them and helping them. Number 7, if they really mess up, be the first to give grace. Tell them you're sorry that choice didn't seemed right at the time, and you'd love to talk about how to recover. This is not about, you're not a judgment. This is not your job to judge them. Your job is to be like, wow, let's think of some solutions together. Let's figure this out. Ask questions so they can come to their own conclusions and convictions. Help them know they are never helpless. You're in their court. You're going to help them. Help them see that they have choices. Number 8, be consistent. If it's really tough sometimes. You can be part of somebody's life and then you get really busy and with most of my young women, I encourage them to initiate with me, and I always tell them, I will make time for you, but I put the initiation on them. We've worked that out ahead of time. We make clear expectations so they know, so I'm not stalking them or anything like that. That they know that if they want time with me, you just have to text me and I will make it for you. So you have to work out your expectations with them, but also being consistent in their life, being a source of consistency for them. And if your time is short and you're thinking about, well, I don't know if I have even time to mentor, that's okay. You'll kind of figure that out. I think the most important thing is that when you're with them, that you're present. Right. You're not on your phone. You're not distracted with other things. If you're going to have somebody that you mentor, you're with them and 100% present when you're there. Number 9, be a cheerleader. Notice growth and improvement. Be proud of them and express why often, validate their concerns, brainstorm ways to help them, encourage them to be curious about their life. And then number 10 is a question that I've asked my girls every time I leave them. I say to them, it's Brene Brown, and it's, what does support look like for you today? Because support is different for every single person. What you need today from somebody in a mentor is completely different from somebody else. So asking that question is not just supposing, well, they asked me about some financial help, so I'm going to provide them financial help. No. Ask them. Say specifically, what does support look like for you in this area? And find out, because you may get with somebody and they're like, yeah, I'm having this, financial crisis, but then you sit down with them and it comes down to the fact that they are having a relationship crisis. So find out what they need in that moment, in that day. And then I just listed out some questions that you can kind of ask yourself. How can I help them identify their strengths? How can I help lift shame from their past? Where have they made progress so I can make sure that I point that out? Am I providing a consistent, safe space where they don't feel judged? Am I being authentic and vulnerable with them about my own life? Am I being humble and accessible? Or do I make things about me instead of focusing on them? And am I able to set aside my feelings in order to help them with their feelings? Okay, so flip over your page. And then again this is still from John Townsend, where he talks about, these are the 7 relationships that we have in our life. Everybody in your life fits into one of these categories. And one of the things that he found when he isolated each one of these is that each one requires its own boundaries, and that each one is somewhat fluid, but oftentimes we can be either top heavy or bottom heavy on this list. So we're going to talk through each one of them. The number 1 positive relationship in your life could be described as a coach. Like Margie is my health coach. She provides for me 3 very specific things. One is she mentors me, develops me, guides me, directs me, but a coach can be paid or pro bono. Coaches typically have 3 qualities. They are subject matter experts in some area of interest: leadership, parenting, emotional health, spiritual health, physical training. Number 2, they know how to coach. There's a science of coaching, and they know the theory and the steps from taking a person from A to B. And they have no personal need for you to be a mutual friend or buddy. It's fine if you become friends, but they purposefully make the time all about you. And that's part of what makes them the top of the positivity scale, is that they are there for you, whether paid or not, where they're able to just focus on all of your stuff and all of the needs that you have. That's like the ideal mentor or the ideal coach. So number 2, these are comrades. These are your life team. You know, you should have like 3 to 10 people in your life that are a great source of support. They know you, they accept you fully. You know, these are your peeps, you know, the people that you're tight with and all those kind of things. You can just absolutely be yourself with. Comrades are fully involved in their own growth. They're vulnerable with you, and they want to help you, and you want to help them. It's a mutually improving relationship. Comrades can be in a group or individuals or some hybrid. Okay, the number 3 is casuals. Casuals are friends and neighbors you have that are just good, positive people in your life. Maybe your kids are on the same soccer teams. Maybe you go to the same music events. Casuals help us experience being in the moment, enjoying life with someone, and they are also potential life team members. So they could even go up on the list and become comrades at some point in time. Now we get into more of the neutral categories. Number 4 is colleagues. You know, you spend a lot of time with colleagues at your work. A lot of the time you don't have a choice with the folks that you work with. If you do have a choice, Dr. Townsend really recommends that you try to work with people who are competent, relationally oriented, and they work well on teams. This can make your work life an energy-producing experience versus an energy-sucking experience. Literally. Number 5 is care. Now this is important because this is like a positive and negative. There's individuals who are without something they need, and you have the capacity to supply that need. This can range from mentoring, supporting people, digging wells in a developing country. This could be any of those. Our care relationships help us make the world a better place. They also release oxytocin in us, which is that feel-good hormone that makes us want to repeat behavior. And then we always need to be giving back in life because that's a large part of what healthy life is about. But we also need to be aware that we may be spending too much time and too much into our care relationships as well. So that's why that one can be a positive, and it also can be a negative. Now we get into the negative people in our lives. These can be some challenging ones. Number 6 are called chronics. Chronics are not bad people. They are often very good people, but they do have long-term patterns of having lots of problems that rarely go away. They can be job problems, financial problems, emotional problems, family problems, any kind of problems. That is not a problem in and of itself because we all have those type of challenges. But chronics also have what he defined as a flat learning curve. That is, they don't learn much from their experiences, nor do they apply the advice that you give them time after time. They want to spend time with you, but more because you're a caring and supportive person, less because they want to make life changes. And he says you can spend enormous time in meetings trying to help chronics and not see a change. And he brings this up, I think, importantly, so that we just recognize these people. There's people that, I feel like in certain areas of my life that I get stuck. And I'm looking for people I was even talking to Linda. I was like, Linda, you've lost weight. You got to help me. I've gained so much weight in the pandemic. So I'm always looking to people like that, but somebody might see me as a chronic. And so I'm not saying give up on chronics. I'm saying that those are just people that are part of our life. Number 7 are people that are tough. Dr. Townsend calls them contaminants. He says, you know, we're all imperfect, but contaminants are kind of at another level. They have bad motives. They tend to be envious and desire to divide and damage others. They can attack your life, your marriage, your family, your soul. When you have clear evidence that you're dealing with a contaminant, you must warn them of their behavior and then create a safe distance from them. And we all have had toxic people in our lives, and it's just important to recognize that, you know, and to have a healthy boundary around those people. When we go through a lot of these different categories, at first you might be like, hey, I'm kind of bottom heavy in some areas. In other words, we may have too many care, chronic, and contaminant relationships and not enough coaches, comrades, and casuals. This imbalance can lead to significant losses of energy and positivity in us, and it leads us to be less productive. And he really talks about specifically here that the answer is balance. He says the most important thing is that you build up your coaches and comrades, and then you begin pruning back the lower categories, especially the contaminants. And then he talks about here that he spells it out very, very clearly in a reasonable and respectful way how to do that in his book. Again, it's called People Fuel. I would highly recommend it. That's all. Thank you.